will begin. In 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, so when we last left off, we were here in the town of Crescent Lake. Dan is level 72, which means we get 27 more level ups. And as my intelligence score is currently 32, unless we go and farm out an int plus item, which is an item that permanently increases your intelligence stat by 1, we would max out at 59. So our target is going to be 50 intelligence here. That should be relatively doable. And I can afford to leak a couple of points here and there, since we're going to be only looking for 18 out of the 27 level ups to get those bonuses. And I'm hoping 50 intelligence is going to be good enough for making Cure 3 useful in combat. Right now we're getting about 300 healing off of Cure 3. Now this pushes us up to 450 or so. That would probably be good enough that you could use it to repair some chaos damage. You would still need to have some good luck, and you will definitely need to be popping those elixirs and mega elixirs periodically. But it should really, really help out a lot. Anything besides that? We got our 5 mega elixirs from last night. That was a really good haul out of ordeals. Now, let's go to the ice cave. Other nice bit about doing the ordeal strip is that we should be able to jump right into one-shotting eyes, not really much of a difficulty with the damage output on this Red Mage. And our running should be really good, which will take care of a lot of the problematic aspects of traveling around. I think the one monster that might be a little bit too fast for us still is going to be the Image. We've got a couple of unrunnels in the Fur Giant with a Fur Wolf buddy at times. Aside from that, I'm hoping things go nice and smoothly. So far, it's been a lovely trip out to the ice cave. And I'm certain that without exception, every ice cave trip in existence has been even nicer than the last one. Other unreadable here is the wizards, and they're not going to be enough experience that I worry about getting too much XP for level up. Got about 7,500 for a buffer right now to give me a nice little bit of cushion for anything that we do have to fight on the way. Lore number 2. I shouldn't need anything out of the boxes here. You can pick up money, you can pick up some treasures and sell those off. But the Red Mage is kind of cheap. You've already got all the spells. You've already got all the equipment you're going to buy. At this point, consumable items are really all you need, and ethers are very, very inexpensive. So your biggest cost likely is going to be getting those caravan vendor items that are added in this version, which will give you temporary combat buffs. If we can hit 999 MP, which I think we are on track for, that's something I was a little bit worried about yesterday, but it looks like we are keeping pace at least 10 MP per level up. We got max HP, so we're not going to need any of the HP or MP buffs. And we can focus on things that are just going to increase our sorting skills. So no flame sword. That's unnecessary. No ice mail for this Red Mage. The only thing that we are here for is money and violence. A pretty good combination. Those are worth like 2,000. All right, I still have enough room for at least one more of those fights before it's a problem. Those guys are a really big problem on the NH version, but on these remakes, they flipped around the percentage chances for ambushes versus first strike. So instead of having a 90% chance of being ambushed by mages, which is devastatingly bad, you get a 90% chance of going first, which kind of makes that fight really trivial. Ice Sword to Sun Sword to Mazmoon for the Red Mage. Yep, that's basically how the Red Mage goes. Our handful of upgrades here are going to be Sun Sword for our next weapon upgrade before the Mazmoon. We've got the Opal Bracelet out of the Sea Shrine, which is going to be our last armor upgrade. I guess technically you could throw in a few more things as well if you want to consider the upgrade value of the Pro Cape. That's going to be over the buckler, a couple points of defense. We'll get that out of Sky Castle. Ribbon is going to be out of the Waterfall, most likely. That's usually the first spot that you can realistically grab that without having to go and fight Kraken. So there's not a lot of things this Red Mage can really equip. We can use the Power Glove. We're definitely going to pick that up as we go through the Sea Shrine. But that will be only for combat purposes, similar to the Mage Staff or the Black Shirt. All right, 3663, so we got a little bit of wiggle room left. Yeah, we don't need this Ice Shield. All we need to do is begin the eye grind. Each of these eyes, 3225 experience. That means we are now officially one battle away from our level up, and that means we are looking for intelligence points. Silly luck did not get it. Alright, now the problem is, with the eye, there's not a lot of easy ways of shaking up its RNG. So while this is great for experience, it's going to be kind of tricky to be able to get something usable here. Just one round with that. Alright, this is Gauntlet followed by Attack. Gets me Agility Luck again. Alright, so no difference there. Interesting. That might be Agility and Luck is guaranteed at this level up. And then we're going to be looking for the 1 in 8 chance of getting the int point that we need. Now we get a different result if I use the gloves. That gaze attack, by the way, is the Stair skill. It's still pretty rare. Agility Luck, so again, no additional points. Days of Eternal will come in. Let's see if we get a different result for a different item being used. Alright, so it is not the same. Also, you can't really tell if it's going to be a different RNG value at the start of the fight. Well, that's interesting that there might be multiple starting positions for the eye, even though it is a trap tile, so it's not using a random value for jittering the battle. Got the cap. Alright, Lit 2, this is again a different start. Again, Agility Luck. It'd be kind of funny if like every item was a different contribution to your random C, because they're doing absolutely nothing. It is just a way to waste a turn. But so far they have all had a different effect. Alright, 22. I think we saw that one for the attack before. Well, we didn't see stamina before, so that is new. Thundara off the glove. We didn't see Thundara before off the glove. We have seen it. Let's try 2 of these. Split 2 and then stare. Silly luck. Dragonfire 4269. Jim is legally considered a hero. Although for technical reasons, some exclusions may apply. And that's stare first. Great stare and then hold. It is a little bit dicey times with not having a ribbon, but it shouldn't have any practical impact because it takes a long time for the eye to get the juicy stuff. Jolly luck again. What is luck affecting this? So there's a bunch of calculations where luck has a minor impact. Theoretically, it's going to be one of the ones that I think are probably more interesting than most. So we'll lit 2, then stare. Got the triple gloves. Our next spell, which is hold. What's keeping us pretty safe here is that we have a lot of magic defense. Good luck. Still no endpoints. $57 on lit 2. I'm going to have to keep track of the lit 2 results as well. 38. What are we trying to get? It is a 1 in 8 chance that we will have an intelligence point when we do level ups. And that is important to get to improve my Red Mage's spellcasting abilities. I'm trying to manipulate out an intelligence point by just resetting if we don't get it. Hey, Golden Fun, they did make a Pixel Remaster remake about some years ago. Available on all of the modern platforms, whether you like the Switch or the PS5 or Steam, what have you. But it is a pretty major change to a lot of the systems of all 6 of the games. So it is kind of its own separate thing compared to these early remakes, which tend to be a little bit more faithful to the originals. There's that standard point again. Seen that one twice now. Missing contents for the points. This doesn't have any of the bonus stuff that was added into a lot of the later revisions. Over the years, they were putting in little bits and pieces to all of the Square Enix games that were getting re-released. And for the Pixel Master, you just have the base game. You don't have any of that extra content. Which, for the most part, is fine. Final Fantasy 1 probably had the most interesting bonus content with the Dawn of Souls dungeons here starting in GBA. That's a big MP game, but not what we need. And then PSP Final Fantasy 1 also added in the Labyrinth of Time, which is another very extensive dungeon. One that I would say fun to do once, but in terms of replayability, it is just so long and such a slog that it's tough for a lot of people to give it a second try. And then most of the later ones, I think, are kind of hit or miss. Final Fantasy 2, if you really love the characters, which very few people love the side characters, you can get a little bit more story for them. Final Fantasy 3 and 5 have a bunch of bonus classes, and those are not required to beat the game, but they do make it a little bit easier. Final Fantasy 4 has the After Years, which is notorious. And Final Fantasy 6 has got like a couple of things in the auction house. It's really kind of one of the smaller and more forgettable ones. So I think other than Final Fantasy 1, it's not really a major or even a minor tragedy that they don't include them. of people that really, really like them. These remakes are still here. Still Jelly Luck. What are we trying to do with this boss? So when you level up, there are stat gains that are guaranteed, depending on what your character class and your level are. And then anything that is not guaranteed, in this version of the game, is a 1 in 8 chance. So we are looking to get a bunch of intelligence points. They are not guaranteed for pretty much all of these levels. And so as a result, we are trying to get the 1 in intelligence. Now when you load up a save, it's going to probably have a pretty similar random state each time that you do this. So I'm also varying up the types of attacks that I do, the order that I do things, anything that could maybe give us a different outcome that we have not seen. Alright, 125 is good. It's actually helpful for the gauntlets that you get to see a different roll for each of those. Any luck still? What's bad about the after years? Most of the after years is recycling the original story of 5C4, but with just a differently named character that has a different color of hair. So it's kind of low effort for all of the additional content. And when it was originally made, basically the way it worked is that in the Japanese market, they would release kind of like episodic content. You would get one of these little chunks every couple of weeks or every couple of months. And so it was more like, here's a way to get back to the game and get a little bit of additional stuff to it. It wasn't really like super serious. But then package it together as one big adventure kind of encourages you to do it as a large playthrough. We got every single stat except for intelligence there. And so it doesn't really hold up as well when you are playing all of the scenarios in a row and expecting kind of the same level of quality that you've got in the rest of the game. All right, we're already certainly seen a lot of the options for our opening round here. So like 125, 131, 132, 134. So now we're going to try each of those plus a item afterwards. All right, big gain on MP, but did not get intelligence. Another 125, so we've seen this one exactly before. All right, 2 gloves. Is this better? Still a Jelly Luck. The good news is I don't need every single level up to have an intelligence point. We got that big buffer, but I really don't want to let easy opportunities go and waste points here at this stage of the game. You're going to get increasingly hard pressed as you get closer to level 99 to have these things maxed out. And the only other alternative, which I'm trying to avoid, is going to bonus dungeons and farming for the int plus item, which is itself really, really slow and tedious. But also, if it would be possible to avoid the bonus dungeons, I would like to do that. Hey, Kalamthu2, welcome in. Thank you much for the good wishes. Enjoy our solo Red Mage. We're going to be having some quality time with our pal, the Eye, here. Jelly Luck. Keep trying, Dan. All right, keys start. This is different than what we've seen before. So we're still seeing a lot of variations that we have not yet experienced just from the initial state of loading the game up. But it's really hard to keep track of all those. So I'm just kind of like doing blocks of these and then adding in more and more wasted turns to see if that gives me some new states that I haven't found yet. Another 124. I've seen that a couple times. More gloves. It's also possible that some of these, when you are taking these actions, are going to merge into each other. And now I got stamina, but not intelligence. My worst case scenario here is probably to drop down to 40 int, which at 8 points to go looks like it'd be very, very safe. I'll have to do a couple of level ups. We'll see how well this process goes for the first couple. We did a good bit of manipulation for the start of the game for HP gains. And those were generally not too bad. Sometimes you're getting them first try. Sometimes it's taking it 20 minutes per level. But overall, it was a workable process. I'm kind of hoping this goes similar. The worst characters than Edwards. Oh, yeah, they had some bad characters. There are things about that game that they are not proud of. Still jelly luck. I think our most common start's going to be 124 and 125. We used to have a bunch of 130s. I haven't seen those for a while. I don't know if there is anything different about this setup for how I'm mashing through it. Right, there are 139. I don't think you've seen 139 before. Probably totally new. Still jelly luck. The 139, this is probably the same one. We get Strength, Agility, Stamina Luck. We saw that one before. It is everything except for the one stat that we want. I don't know how Dan keeps managing to do that. At 136. This one is new as well. Just a jelly luck. We know we have different random values. We're seeing different damage rolls. Those are at least giving us some hope that we're exploring new areas. Okay, 139, we've seen that one before. Right, 3 gloves. don't think we had mute after the second one before. Still agility luck. What would kind of help is if I had an idea what the guaranteed levels were for the first few parts of the game. I wonder if Ice 2 is going to be different. It's a different base amount, but it probably uses the same number of actual RNG calls. Yeah, still Joey luck. Because if I had the number for guaranteed intelligence points, then it would be possible to kind of plan out when it's advisable to skip. I feel like we've seen a 129 before. All right, with one glove. Big MP game, which does not particularly help us. We should be pretty easily able to max out our MP with the glide path that we have. We're getting just slightly ahead of 10 MP per level right now. 123. You want the item to be more evil looking. At least try. At least there is an effort being made to have some evilness here. Let's look at our team. Most of our team is sleeping. No jelly luck. The other thing I would have a hard time telling is if you get two rolls with the same value that are actually different random numbers. That makes it really tough to keep track of how thoroughly you've checked these. 125 there. I voted to criminalize cheeseburgers. Well, that's going to make Dan real unhappy. Dan's going to have to use these gloves extremely vigorously in protest. One more. Around to the gaze that's Brack. Brack is back. Let's see if we are back to some new RNG territory. No jelly luck. Alright, we'll get this one 3 more tries. I'm going to have to rate it off as one of our couple of points that we do not get int on. HC Billy, thank you much for the raid there, and welcome into Raiders. Hope you had a great time watching HC Bailey. We have our ongoing adventures of the solo Red Mage. We are currently trying to grind out a whole bunch of intelligence points, which each of these is about a 1 in 8 chance. So it's going to be a bit of a process. But I do hope you had a great time over there. Welcome in, Dale Murph, HC Bailey. Look at my trucker hat. Dragon Quest 2 is really good. Yeah, the HD remix of Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 3 are all pretty interesting. 3 is probably the closest to the original game in terms of design, just because it's already a pretty well fleshed out game. But as you go further back, Dragon Quest 1 and 2, especially Dragon Quest 1, have a very, very simplistic base to work on. And so more and more of it is kind of original content where they're putting in bonus bosses, new areas, especially new abilities that are from later games in the series. So it's adding in a lot on top of just a kind of standard remake. Still agility luck. If I see that strength, agility, stamina, luck level again, I will probably take that. Although it's a little bit concerning that our very first level here for the eye grind is giving up on its intelligence point. But maybe that's what we have to do. can always use some strength points. It is beneficial to have the bonus stuff, but for the most part, whatever amount that you have for strength and accuracy, you're going to be able to get easily that difference buffed up with like a single power glove. So it really has kind of a low impact in terms of your long-term outcomes. Like maybe it saves you one round of buffs. But as long as that doesn't require that you use up an extra item. So no more elixirs than you would otherwise have used up without that one additional round, then it probably has pretty low impact. Still agility luck. It's a 1 in 8 chance of getting our intelligence points. And kind of complicating that is, while the eye is a great source of experience, you're going to get very similar-ish fights, which means that your RNG state is not going to vary a huge amount, making it a little bit tougher to see kind of unique stuff. More agility luck. What do you know about Dragon Quest I stories that you must marry a princess? The only thing that you really need to know about the Dragon Quest I story is the princess is going to get thrown into a swamp. All right, there's a strength point, but no stamina. Not good enough. We're going to keep working on it until we get either our intelligence point or we get everything besides intelligence. $300 roll. Stamina point and a high MP gain. It's not terrible, but not what we want. Right, 434 is the new one. High MP gain. Just agility and luck. The high MP is useful because we do want to have a little bit of those bonus levels, just to say above 10 MP per level up. Our base amount, I think, is 8. We don't quite make it if we just get nothing but 8s. I guess 9. That's another strength agility luck. Agility and luck being guaranteed here makes it a little bit tougher to recognize when the important stuff is happening. 426 is new. Luck. Getsuaki Suki LP. Thank you very much for resubscribing back for 71 months. Welcome in and enjoy our solo Red Mage playthrough. So the stamina luck. All right, still not what we want. I'm really hoping that for a White Mage and Black Mage, we do not have to do really extensive level farming. This one is basically doing, for Red Mage, the first quarter of the game for HP manipulations, and the last quarter looking for intelligence. Now this is already like a pretty extensive amount of rerolling required to get those. On the NES version, you're doing this for every single level. It is, without exception, just required for all 49 level ups to have a chance. But for GBA, it's more of, this is going to make it a lot more reliable, straightforward, simpler, whatever you want to call it. So it may not be strictly required. I'm going to get a lot of good information from doing the Red Mage playthrough for how White Mage and Black Mage are going to play. Alright, agility, stamina, luck. Okay, so we got everything but intelligence. I'm going to take it. There's 73 picked up. It looks like we only need 4 eyes per level, which is even better. First try here. Agility is up first. That might be guaranteed, although we just had an agility level guaranteed, so Red Mage, it doesn't get a lot of guaranteed points. I would imagine that that is a bit of a coincidence. Roll a couple more of these. See what it's like. Yeah, some of the big things that really change the character of this is going to be that we have fast and temper and power gloves, so we can heavily boost our damage output. Yeah, agility may be guaranteed. Fireworm, thank you much for resubscribing back for 42 months. Welcome and enjoy our solo Red Mage. We will see what we end up doing here. We got the intelligence point. Nope. We gave up on it. Took strength, agility, stamina, luck. Which at least you're getting something for the troubles, but I could only do that 9 times out of like 29 levels. I guess 27 levels. So we gotta be cautious about how many we bail on. Our agility one. Strength, intelligence, we got it. So agility was not guaranteed. It was just kind of coincidentally coming up there a couple times. But that popped our next level up. 1 intelligence point down. $26 more to go. 17 left. It's gonna feel like a lot. Alright, we need 1 more to get in position. Why is intelligence so important? So intelligence is a multiplier for any variable effect, which includes things like healing. So if I can get to 40, I'll have a little bit of buff to my healing. I'm going to be targeting 50 intelligence here, which should be a pretty decent amount of extra healing for my Cure 3 spells. And if I don't do this, I am worried that I'm going to need so many elixirs that it's just going to be kind of impractical to survive long enough in chaos, especially for White Mage and Black Mage. Red Mage can probably get away with being a lot looser about these things. But I'm doing this kind of for science so that when we go to play White Mage and Black Mage, you don't get hosed at the very end of the game realizing, oh, we've built something that's going to not work. No stats. That's right, Golden Fawn. Intelligence is going to be the one thing I'm looking for. HP is already done. That was manipulated out at the beginning of the game. MP should take care of itself. Just need a couple of those occasional big MP pops to keep ahead of pace for getting to 999. And if we don't get any more strength, agility, or luck, it's probably not a big deal. Good strength and luck, though. It is probably a reset. Keep trying. $20 in a stamina. Interesting that it seems more difficult to get the intelligence point from our small sample here so far than it is to get the MP gains. And it may just be because the thing that we're doing, the eye fight, does not have a huge amount of variance in how the battles go. So we might be kind of stuck into a small number of random selections, which would make anything that you're looking for a little bit tougher. There we go, strength intelligence. That one worked out pretty well. We need to get 4 eye fights, it looks like. That'll be all set. I thought it was like 5 eye fights you need per level, but it's more like 4 and some change. So every now and then you need 1 extra eye to prep it, but this is a very, very fast grind, considering how many hours you spend on the NES version. Just getting the experience that you need, much less doing level farming. This is so much nicer in a lot of ways. Strength only. What I really keep track of is how much damage the swing does. That would give me a good indication of whether I'm getting unique results or not. 320. Strength, stamina, good MP, but not what we need. And considering that we can burn a couple of levels, I think putting a reasonable cap on the amount of time for doing an individual up, given that some of these go just so quickly, probably makes a lot of sense. So for Red Mage, if we're shooting for 50, we can burn 8 more levels, I think. We saw that already. I've already seen 288 and 320 on these. Five's new, but it does not help. Beach Streaming, welcome in. That is the solo Red Mage playthrough, making it to Chaos. Before we get there, we have to get a lot of intelligence points, which are going to be kind of tricky to pick up. One with 21 in strength. We're seeing that a bunch, even though we're getting different attack rolls, giving me the same amount of MP and the same stack gain, which is kind of weird. $390. 21 strength, stamina. Okay, so different stack gains there. $288. Does intelligence have an effect in this version of the game? Yes, starting in the GBA version, intelligence does something, which is a revolutionary concept. And it's another one of the things they added in to kind of hurt the Red Mage. So basically, of the spellcasters, Red Mage going to get the fewest number of guaranteed intelligence points. And whenever you've got a spell that's got a variable effect, something like an attack spell that does different amounts of damage for each roll, or a healing spell, which does different amounts of recovery for each roll, every 10 points of intelligence translates into basically an additional multiplier. I mean, if you had additional attack per round. So it's a pretty noticeable jump, especially the first couple of multipliers. Those are very, very massive. And so the White Mage is going to be really good at using spells. The Black Mage is going to be really, really good at using spells. The Red Mage takes a big hit, and anybody that's not a mage. Because this is also used when you are using an item in combat. So before Zeus Gauntlet, Mage Staff, they did the same amount of damage regardless of who used them. Now your intelligence stat matters for those as well. So basically, melee classes cannot practically get a lot of value out of those combat items. Red Mage, really low spell output compared to the White Mage and Black Mage. And the funny thing is, like, because it's just generic intelligence stat, doesn't matter what your innate magical abilities are. A Black Mage is actually really good at healing if you give them a healing item, since they just have way more intelligence than anybody else. Yeah, melee was never able to be a spellcaster, but they could use those items in combat very effectively. Anytime that you had an enemy that was, let's say, weak to lightning, you're in the Sea Shrine, a melee character could be the one that used the Zeus Gauntlets or the Thor Hammer, and it all depended on kind of the flexibility that you needed for what character was taking what job at the time. Nice, got the intelligence point. Another one down. But now with these changes, you really don't have that flexibility nearly as much. They kind of force you more rigidly into your class archetypes. Which some people don't like, but I think for a heavily class-based game like this, it makes a lot of sense that you can't really do a lot of non-class activities. Because it makes the character classes a lot more distinct that way. Stamina luck. And we're getting MP10, so with that intelligence point, we now have a base 10 MP, so we are guaranteed to be totally good for MP at the end of the game, which is great. Really luck. Now all we care about is the multipliers. Kind of side effect of doing all this is that I'm going to have a Red Mage that is horrendously overpowered compared to your typical Red Mage in this game. Which is good, because being solo, you need all the help you can get. And we just got another intelligence point. So really, it's kind of like a big fluke on that first level up. I spent like 20 minutes on that first one, could not get it. Since then, it's been like maybe 4 or 5 minutes tops. It's been so much better. We're going for intelligence sprint, so I'm going to go to 50 for my int score, which is the highest multiplier I can get. Right now, I've got 21 more possible level ups. So if I went and got every single one, I'd be at 58. And it's a multiple of 10, so 58 is useless. 50 is the best you can do. And it gives me a little bit of flexibility to burn a couple of these level ups if they don't work out quickly. So my new plan here is I give it a couple minutes on level up, trying to get that end point. If we don't get it, just burn it and go to the next one. Got that one. 79's done. Yeah, the funny thing was the Red Mage actually got a level up with strength, agility, stamina, and luck, which is every single other point. And the Red Mage does not get a lot of guaranteed points. So having 4 stats show up is incredibly rare, especially in the late game here, where you are getting even fewer guaranteed points than you have at the start. But the one that we didn't get was the one that we wanted. Looks like we get nothing guaranteed. So low roll MP and no stats, which means You have 0 fixed stats. This is level 80, I think. Well, it's kind of goes to you like how sparse some of these got. One stamina, so that's a high MP roll and a stamina gain. Got 2 1 and 8s there, but not the ones that we need. And as we know at this point that if you hit 99, you're going to have 999 MP. A high MP gain is just a waste. We don't actually care. Strength luck. All of this intelligence fraudulent. All of this intelligence that we are getting here tonight has been hand certified by Agamas to be 100% legit and genuine. Although I know that some of those Agamas may have been bribed. It still does not change the fact that we've got the certifications. There we go. Intelligence done for 80. Pretty soon we're going to be at the 40 in breakpoint. That'd be nice. That should be one-shotting eyes at that point with Zeus Gauntlets, but you can't really taste them anymore for using the Zeus Gauntlets to pass a turn. But it'll still be good. All right, one more. What do we get here? 81. Chili. Red Mage gets a decent amount of agility points. I was kind of surprised at the last couple level ups for that because it feels like up to this point, you're getting roughly an equal distribution of all your stats. So like if you look at Red Mage's stats, just when we were not trying to manipulate the regular stack, just going after HP, it was pretty much like 30 across the board for all 5 stats. Which if you were playing like a dedicated class, you know, if you had a fighter, it'd be like probably like 50 strength and you'd have less intelligence and maybe less agility or something. The range was very, very evenly flat. And probably with no high stats, just having everything kind of about equal. That's one of the real big disadvantages, that you're not min-maxing anything. Not enough strength to really do enough damage, not enough stamina to really survive things, not enough intelligence to be a good spellcaster. Which does fit the Red Mage playstyle pretty well. They're very good at the start. The versatility is amazing. And then over time, because it would be pretty overpowered if they were able to keep that up for the entire game. They eventually fall off and become less good at every single thing compared to another class. I guess that's true. One thing that they will never, ever be surpassed in is that nobody is nearly as stylish as the Red Mage. So at least we will always have that. We manipulate their strength to become better at attacking. You could become indistinguishable from a fighter if you went with all-out strength output on an attacking perspective. And the reason is because you're going to max your accuracy for, I think, all character classes. Maybe you're not going to max it for Black Mage or something. But Red Mage certainly would hit 255 accuracy, and then you can't get any more. You're going to have the same weapon, the Masbune. So there's no differences there. And if you get every single strength point, it's not like the fighter can get more strength than all the points. So your weapon combat would be really, really good. Your defense, on the other hand, would be kind of pathetic. You're not going to have the equipment the fighter would have. You're also not going to have the stamina score the fighter would have. Means you're losing out on the additional bonus points of defense that you get from vitality in this version of the game. And so it wouldn't be quite the same, but you would do very, very well at melee. Maxing in and casting nuke. Well, you can't cast nuke unless you went to one of the bonus dungeons and got an item that does nuke. But the big thing I think this intelligence is going to be useful for is healing in battle. My best healing spell, Cure 3. Right now was doing like 300 some hit points, which barely keeps even with Chaos. So if he's doing 300 a round, I'm doing 300 a round, we are basically trading turns, and that's not a healthy way of going through it. I need to be getting some advantage over Chaos every turn. If I could pump this up to like 450, 500, then the Cure 3 gets kind of exciting. Because sometimes he's going to use a physical attack and miss. He's going to sometimes use a lower damage output spell. You can probably get some advantage if you're getting like 1.5 rounds of healing for 1 round of turns. It might not be enough. Like maybe I find out that 50 intelligence is just not cutting it. Which would be really good information because the White Mage is going to be even more dependent on this. And that might tell me I need to go like 60 or 70 on the White Mage to have a good shot. Or maybe White Mage just does all melee and, you know, goes after the strength points. Which I don't think is necessarily a great play because you can probably get enough elixirs to sit in battle using the power globes until you hit that strength score. But these are all like possible playstyles. And since I don't have a good sense about how likely it is that you get completely walled at Chaos at the end, it's kind of important to go in pretty overpowered. And that way you aren't going to get stuck at the final bit of the game. There we go. Intelligence on level 81 is done. We hit the 40 break point. There's another break point out of the way. So we got 10 more points to go. More than 8 eyes, you will never have more than 8 eyes. That game is going to be hard to top. I can't think of another game that has as good of a bird companion as 8 eyes does. There's just something really special about it. So we get agility again. Luck, so no guaranteed stats here. Got an 8 eyes remake that fixes all the bugs. 8 eyes doesn't really have a lot of bugs. It's got some goofy AI, which lets you do corner achieves and exploits and things, but I don't remember that game having a lot of broken stuff. It's also really, really tough to figure out where to go and what to do. So if you've never played any eyes, I would recommend a walkthrough. And you want Battletoads and Double Dragon for birds. I think those birds are more like birds that you can punch, rather than birds that are your friends. Which, don't get me wrong, some birds are very punchable. And maybe we just have to admit that that's a thing. Alright, got the intelligence point there. Another one down. I've done solo White Mage. I've done solo character classes for all 6 character classes on the NES version. This is my first time going through a lot of these with the GBA version. And it's a very different experience because you got all of these usable items. All the combat systems are very, very altered. So it's been kind of fun to plan these out almost from scratch. For the most part, it's still learning a lot about how GBA structurally needs to be put together in some of the fights. Like, you need a lot of power to get past Lich, which is not really a bottleneck for the NES version. Like, NES bottleneck is almost always Astos, and to get past Astos, you can pretty much get to Chaos. The 199. Thank you guys for resubscribing back for 43 months. Definitely enjoy the Aquas here tonight. How much healing do we with Cure 3 now that we got 40 intelligence? Let's try it in battle. Good number looks like 330. $326. $332. So probably about a 10% bump up there. It's a little bit disappointing. I think I was getting about 300 before, but it is an improvement. I reloading to keep the walk timer for fights, so I am reloading to manipulate out the bonuses on level up. Based on your character class and your level, you're going to have certain stat gains that are guaranteed. For this level, the Red Mage gets no guaranteed stats. Anything else is a 1 in 8 chance. So every time I re-roll this, I'm looking to get different RNG for the fight, and hopefully we'll eventually get one that has an intelligence point, which I am trying to push my intelligence up to 50 before the end of the game. Well, that definitely bumped up from 140 to 167, so now you can one-shot the eye with Lit 2. You couldn't do that before. That's like a 20% bump, which is a lot more substantial. I don't know if it was 300 average before. I know that we had some 300 rolls, and that was out of combat, which might have different results as well. Because certainly for black magic, those are much bigger bumps up than we were seeing on the white magic side. That's like 20-25% better. And that's what I was hoping to see for the healing spells. Oh yes, for next level up. Should probably get that one done. Gotta save again right beforehand. I was busy testing my Cure 3 spell out. We should be setting up for 83. Strength, intelligence, luck. That's a very good one. We're taking that one. 3 eyes for next one. This one I don't need the big MP gains, but nice to see them. In order to raise the response speed, you will know if you have not raised the response speed. It is going to be very, very obvious. Final Fantasy 1 NES for the response rate on that. I feel like the lower numbers are just kind of absolutely ridiculous that they would even include them, much less have it be the default. And maybe people were just like really, really expect to be bad at reading. But it is atrociously slow. The intelligence luck, nice, got another one. Like, maybe if it was, instead of 1 through 8, you keep a 2 in there. You know, something that is incredibly slow. But, you know, like, if you doubled it, 2, 4, 6, 8, up through 16, that probably at 16 would have been a good, reasonable speed. If the randomizer is way, way faster than the normal response rate 8. But it's still got a little bit of room to go faster if you really wanted to. I don't think you necessarily would have that as kind of like a default setting by any means, but just kind of like maximum speed. Because in a lot of games, you had the option to have basically instant text, where it drew the whole thing all at once. And that really makes such a big difference in terms of like the overall output. So we get here. Nothing. So kids can read it. I mean, this is why I think it's fine to have like a 2 equivalent speed as your absolute lowest. But what is not fine is not having more high-end stuff. Nice strength intelligence. There's another point done. 53. The wonderful part is after we get our 50 and I can just bang out the rest of levels to 99. It'll take like 2 minutes. We're at 44, so we got 6 more points to go. Another intelligence luck point. 5 points to go. That first one was just a really big fluke. I think we've gotten pretty lucky the last couple. There's possibly some guaranteed endpoints in here that is also helping Red Mage out for this stretch. But man, that first one was rough. $87. Easy start. Intelligence done for 87. 4 points to go. And 3 eyes to our next breakpoint. I think based on this, it would have been practically at Red Mage up to 60. Don't know how that translates for White Mage and Black Mage, who have more guaranteed points about what their experience would be like. But it's good to see that this is not as bad as I was fearing. Agility, okay. Intelligence, stamina. There's another point down. Last deal. The scary one's going to be the thief. Depending on what we end up needing there, that could be particularly problematic. I'm hoping the thief gets enough hit points that you don't need to do a lot of HP manipulation at the start. I know it's better than the Red Mage for early HP gains. So those might get turned into other stat bonuses. It's got nothing. percentage-wise at this point. We have 11 levels to go. We need 3 points event. That's barely 25%. Well, there's another point event down, so now we need 2 points event. Two out of 10. I wonder if that's close enough to just rip out the rest levels and hope for the best. Classes that we've done on NES, it's all 6 character classes. Solo, no class change. For GBA so far, it has been Fighter and Black Belt. Red Mage is our 3rd one to be done. And right after this, I'm planning to do White Mage and Black Mage. Hopefully by the end of the month. Thief is going to be the last of the 6 character classes. It is almost certainly going to be the worst of the 6. We want to have as much practice as the other ones as we can get. This one's luck. We're going for perfect thief stats. Yes, all stats on every level up. No exceptions. That'd be so bad. You don't have the same problem that you do on the NES version, which is that some stat gains are simply impossible in combinations, as far as I know. NES only has 256 values for the random number generator, ever being at one time. So even though it's a 1 in 4 for each of the stats, if you have, in those 256 possible outcomes, no outcome where it has that particular stat or combination going up, then it simply cannot be done. Doesn't matter how many times you try it. Whereas in this version, I think you have a much bigger range of possible states. And so it might still be impossible to have all 7 1 and 8s at the same time. But it'll at least have a pretty good chance that you can get 3 or 4 at once, even if it would be a really incredible number of resets required. Battery LSD, welcome in. There's our last intelligence point. We have 50 int. We did it. And now, also at 99 MP, we can let this one roll. All right, so it's going to go to 99. We'll take whatever we get. It would be fine if you got, at this point, the strength gains or the agility gains or luck gains. You can pick a different stat and try to optimize those as well. But I feel like Red Mage should be okay with what we've seen here so far. Got another intelligence point. Didn't even try for that one. I would imagine if I did manipulate these, and we'll see what the other stats look like, because I am going to guess that the stats are probably pretty even across all 5 of them, is that the Red Mage has an expected value of roughly around 40 for all 5 stats. It might be 45. That'll kind of give us like a baseline value of what you expect to get. And we did a lot of HP manipulation early, which let me kill Lich with way less grinding required. So I expect you better run. I think Dan just got another intelligence point. This is also possible that we're in some kind of funky RNG loop. I don't think that's possible in the GBA version, but maybe it is. Where you're getting similar RNG states for these fights, because there's not a lot of other randomness getting injected. You don't have any time-based dependencies on the battles on GBA. But I think the way the random number generator works in this version is not going to have that same weirdness the NES version does. I was like, rank, stamina, luck, so pretty good level. At 95 now. Okay, so we got more strength than agility by a good bit. Could be random results, because I've not tried to ever optimize for strength. But it could also be that Red Mage is not truly 100% flat for its stat gains. Got a level with no bonuses. Not even a hit point. Zeros across the board. Are we done? I did think we're at 99. Okay, yeah, still good points. Gotta be getting close though. I do like how fast you level up in this version, especially with a couple of factors. One is that experience required for level ups cut about in half. The time for doing the battles is really quick. On these trap tiles, you're just getting in and out of the fights very, very quickly. It's a lot less of the ending fanfare and time for the message boxes to appear. It's like zipping right through these. Another intelligence point. So this would take like 4+ hours to get to level 50 on the NES version. Like, we're getting to 99 in considerably less time, even with manipulations. Alright, there's a level up that might have been 99. Yeah, we're at 99. Alright, we are done with leveling. Not quite at maximum experience, but we're pretty close. We'll have that by the end of the game. We got 44 for strength, 35 for agility, 53 for int, and intelligence only matters in multiples of 10, so we don't get a bonus for being 3 over, but we'll have whatever our 50 int range is. 39 for stamina. I don't know if stamina has a multiplier effect for your bonus defense. Maybe being at 39 is going to be tragically sad. 43 luck is our final one there. As you can see, our accuracy at 255 has been long maxed out. We maxed that out probably like level 45 or 50. It's really early in the game compared to this. Got very good evasion. Defense score is crummy, and we're going to try and improve that with the Opal Bracelet and the Pro Cape coming up. But there's only so much you can do as the Red Mage. And that is, unfortunately, one of the things that's going to make the Red Mage a little bit tougher. All right, let's see here. We got 360 for that Cure 3. So we're maybe still only getting 10% for healing spells? I got 20% on my last level up for attack spells. Don't know if there's any difference in behavior between them. Let's be on level 99. We should have a very, very fast time zooming through things. Let me actually try the gauntlets. Like 160 at the previous breakpoint. Now we're at 200. So you're getting a fairly hefty bonus on the black magic side of things. At 30 int, we did 140. So that's nearly a 50% bonus. Going up 2 tiers of it. White magic seemed like it went from 300 to 360. Which is a lot less impressive. And could mean some trouble for White Mage. If you are relying on White Mage able to just pop massive Cure 3s, that may not be the case. Yeah, Clint. I don't know if the chat is broken. It is been off and on for Twitch. I had a problem earlier in the day where like all the emotes were broken. And that was happening like even right before I went to stream. But it looks like chat is working again. I think in general, Twitch has been significantly less reliable over the last couple of months. They've been doing a lot of cost-saving measures, where they've shut down their old data centers and systems and have been just trying to minimize their operational costs. And so probably there have been some consequences of that. Our biggest consequence of going to the ice cave has been getting the airship picked up. Now we can fly. The extremely randomized playthrough is going to ever be on YouTube. I do have all the recordings for the last couple of years. It is mostly about the amount of time it takes me to go and process through the videos. So I can get usually like 1 or 2 videos done a week. And I've been prioritizing the ones that people have been really interested in seeing, which is all like the marathon runs and the PB runs and a lot of the old Final Fantasy Challenge runs. If I ever get the time for it, I would love to have more things available to show off, but right now it's just really tough to get the amount of time to do a single video up there. Bottle. Which would be very helpful when we do our shopping. All we need to buy is a lot of these bonus items. So these items are added in this version brand new. Giant Sonic temporarily raises your max HP. We're at 99, so we don't care. Very Tonic max MP, we're at 99, we don't care. But these are interesting. Strength essentially gives you more attack power up to, I think, 99 base, which we have 51 right now. The Mazbuin is going to be much better than the Ice Sword, but shouldn't be up to 99. Might be 128, actually. You go pretty hard on that. Protecting for defense can be pretty good. Speed Drink for agility. I don't know if this actually does anything when we're at 255 accuracy, but it might. So I feel like you can increase your attacks per round with Power Globes, which are also going to be raising your strength and agility scores. So I'm going to go ahead and get these. Also, there's not much else we can do with money, so it's not like this is a big deal if I'm making bad purchases. And if you class change, you get some okay spells. Lit 3, Ice 3 would be both pretty decent for the Red Mage at the end of the game, but because we're not going to class change, Fire 3 is our top end attack spell. We cannot get anything better than that. Lit 2 and Ice 2 are going to come from usable items. Do I need any more items here? Maybe a couple more houses whenever we go into dungeons. That should take care of those. So I'd never experienced Hindlight before, and you had the gall to sully their lives irreparably by showing them that. Well, that was certainly a choice. Later this month, there might be some more virtual highlight as well. Depending on how our highlight for the holidays goes, I will plan out what that festification is going to look like. And I'm going to show you. It is not going to be pretty. All right, northern part of the world, we've got waterfall coming up. This gets me a ribbon, so that's a pretty big value. Then we can do top of sea shrine. That'll be getting the opal bracelet. At that point, our defense is much, much better. Another 10 points of defense from that opal bracelet pick up over the gold bracelet. We'll also get the shine in the cube from these, so I could grab the sun sword at that point. Sun sword's kind of a minor thing, but it does make it a little bit faster killing the fiends. Speaking of fast, this is one of the very, very few dungeons that actually has a lower encounter in this version. Waterfall and Marsh Cave are the only two that do not have a outrageously high number of encounters for every single step you take. These are kind of relaxing. And it's still a very high encounter rate. It's just better. Almost tragic. One thing about this waterfall that makes it far, far worse is that there are no bats. Not even partially on mounts. And all of these bats, unfortunately, are going to be getting in our way a lot. As will these birds. Red Mage do any of the bonus dungeons. Red Mage should be able to do some of the bonus dungeons. I feel like Red Mage is, in many ways, going to be not as good as a fighter, but able to be reasonably competent if you are able to survive for a couple of turns with the buffs. So some of the more advanced ones, like Final Fantasy 5, probably not a good choice, but Final Fantasy 3 and 4, I bet you could get some progress in. There's our ribbon on there. I will want to have the defense sword. That is going to be very useful for dodging things. The rest of this stuff, not really all that important. Get rid of that, and that. That entire stack of potions are worth like maybe 5 elixirs at this point. Really, really small. Or I guess even 5 ethers to get most of your value out of just using the spells. Okay, I'm gonna fight Omega. I would probably say Red Mage, maybe not the greatest choice for that. Even the Black Belt really struggled in that fight. You gotta have the survivability for that first couple of rounds, which is just really, really hard. Really, one thing that would be kind of fun in the Final Fantasy 5 dungeon is that you'd be able to get the nuke staff on the first round of mini-bosses. And with Red Mage at 50 intelligence, that's probably going to do some pretty heavy hits. But that nuke's going to be like 450. Yeah, if you have any problems with chat, it is something that is happening all across Twitch. It has been off and on like the whole day for things just generally not working. But don't worry, as long as we can successfully get at least 3 frames so you could see the entirety of virtual highlight. And just think about how wonderful that is going to be. AP7 1331, welcome in. Our solo Red Mage has moved on to the domination phase of the game. The first quarter of the game, maybe the first third, is pretty tough for a lot of these characters. The last boss is pretty tough for a lot of these characters. In between, this is the part we get to like just fly around with the greatest of ease. I'll tell you, it is pretty fun. Well, it was kind of a good experience. Alright. House up. We're going to top a sea shrine here. Go and grab the items that we are looking for up there. I want to pick up the Mage Staff. I will try not to forget this time. If you have the Mage Staff, then Light Axe is unnecessary. We've already got the Zeus Gauntlets, so I will not need to buy any attention to the Thor Hammer when we go over to Mirage Tower. But I will need the Black Shirt on a Sky Castle, and that'll complete all of our mid-tier elementals. Allow me to get rid of those spells entirely. Sploosh. Alright, but a weird thing on the NES version is that the morale scores of the monster in the Sea Shrine is actually really good. Much better than you have in the dungeons around here. So these monsters might not run away nearly as much as the ones outside did. Music Master did for this version in PSP, yeah, they are very good. I think that the PSP version's a lot better just because the quality of the samples is much higher. But I like the GBA additional tracks that they put in. They did a very good job with all the bass tracks. And the biggest issue is generally the fact that they're adapting it for the GBA, where you have really, really limited speaker capabilities. A very, very small speaker, meaning that there's no kind of natural bass to it. And so to make up for that, they have to really kind of crank the bass a lot, and it makes things a bit muddy at times. But overall, good job with bass tracks, and the bonus tracks, adding in stuff for Chaos, for the boss fights, the 4 Fiends getting additional themes, like they did a pretty decent job adding in a lot of new stuff to it. And PSP just like really cleaned up what they had. Here's our slab. Alright, so a couple bracelets on. 45 defense now. Go up to 51 with the Pro Cape. That'll be our last defensive upgrade for the entire game. It's been a while since we had some good defense. Mage Staff while I'm here. Didn't forget. It's Fire and Lightning taken care of, which means I don't need any 3rd tier attack spells anymore. Which is kind of a cool feature in this version, is that you can actually delete spells from your spell list. Especially for Red Mage, that's really good, since you can get such a small fraction of the overall spells. 3 out of 8 is, at some tiers, kind of limiting. Other ones, it's, you know, not even 3 good spells in the entire tier. But this way, if you pick a spell and you realize that it's not very good, yeah, you're going to lose the money for it, but it's a pretty small consequence compared to NES where you are permanently locked in and that spell slot is just gone. Good to go there. That's top of Sea Shrine. Now I'll do bottom of Sea Shrine once I get everything kind of cleaned up in here. This little stretch has the second most questing after probably the Mystic Key section. Just traveling around, knocking off various objectives. Like seeing if you can burn the town of Melmont to the ground. One day, Melmont. One day. Hey, look at you. Thank you much for your love of Virtual Highlight. It is truly unfathomable why so many people want to see that game. And yeah, Twitch chat has been kind of busted all day. I think it is a global problem that Twitch chat is just failing a whole bunch. I have mostly only seen emotes failing to load. But a lot of people have had just chat not working at all. Check out our mage staff. See how we're doing here. Pretty nice. As is fire too. Nuke would be way, way better if we got that nuke staff. But you can walk down the left-hand side of this version. You cannot do this in the NES version. The town is just a little bit further over to the left, which blocks off access on the side. It looks like you maybe could squeeze by there, but because it's a pretty big, chunky tile-based system, it is deceptively not possible. So, well, generally they did a pretty good job of keeping things like perfectly compatible. There are a very small number of those map edits. The other one that's really noticeable is that in Ordeals, right where you have the trap tile and the heal staff, on the NES version, there's a little cutout in the corner, which lets you take the trap tile once, and then you don't have to fight it again on the way back if you want to just grab the heal staff and then go off to the left. On the remakes, they filled that corner in, and so it forces you to do the trap tile a second time if you want the heal staff. Links Father 99. We're doing pretty good for our Red Mage. We have maxed our levels. I got a pretty good number of manipulate levels in here as well. So we early game maxed out HP especially, which made it a lot easier to take down Lich especially. Then late game I was working on intelligence, and I got up to 50 for the breakpoint there. Red Mage, it looks like with 50 intelligence, your offensive magic is really good. But it doesn't seem to be as impressive for your healing magic, which is going to be useful information for doing White Mage and Black Mage playthroughs. Because it means that Black Mage, if you get some more intelligence points, it is very, very substantial damage there. But White Mage might not get as big a return, and White Mage might have to be faster killing things as a result to stick around in fights. We will see how that goes though, once we get into those. I think both White Mage and Black Mage, and possibly Thief is going to need a little bit of HP help. Black Mage especially. We need intelligence on top. It's going to be kind of budgeting. How many level ups worth of intelligence do you want to take? Versus how many strong HP gains do you want? It's really hard to do both at the same time. I think only Black Magic gets the hard multipliers at 10s. The White Magic spells get multipliers as well, it seems. But it's only about 10% for a block of 10. Whereas Black Magic was getting like 20-25%. So I think White Magic's got a higher base and a lower multiplier bonus. And that's kind of the key difference is you're going to see lower gains over the spread levels compared to attack spells, which seem to have a pretty high gain. Might not be correct, but just from the testing going up from 30 int to 50, that seems to be what happened. I think going from 50 to 53 didn't see any change. But at 50 was a pretty big change. Still, 360 here is kind of good enough for a lot of things. Just don't know if it's enough for Chaos to be a lot less effective. We have to go get 3 more multipliers, get up to 80 int, get to 450, which I think is going to be the real magic number for Chaos survivability. That's probably going to be a lot of work. Gets extra power from luck. Interesting. Yeah, I wasn't keeping track of the luck gains. You don't get a lot of those as the Red Mage. But maybe there is some factor there as well. Just know it's really, really nice being able to one-shot those. One damage point per 2 luck. So relatively small, but at least some effect from it. So do I care about the Thor Armor versus the Gauntlets? I think I'm fine with Gauntlets. But we'll have the Thor Armor just in case. Get all of our favorites. Sun Sword's gonna be the one that we really, really care about here. That is gonna bump up from Ice Sword 3 whole attack points. No, it's not a huge amount, but it's the best we can do here until we get to the Mazmoon. Really what you mostly have for the base game with the Sun Sword is the accuracy bonus, but since we've already saturated our accuracy, we don't get any of the further bonus that you would normally have there. We don't need to run away. I will solve the problem in a different fashion. And as usual, Dan's favorite solution is violence. that's all of our upgrades that we can get without going to space. That would be a pretty unnecessarily long detour. So I think it is time to blitz some fiends. So we're going to start here with Carry Fiend of Fire. Just look through the volcano, we don't need any boxes. We should get a pretty good idea about how ridiculously powerful level 99 Red Mage is going to be. For all of the fiends in the present, even most of the fiend refights, these are going to be very, very easy fights. And then we get the Chaos. And Chaos, I'm probably going to want to farm out some elixirs for again. Just to be on the safe side, so we'll be doing some 15 puzzles once we have the fiends out of the way. Good ambush. For the most part, I'm trying to take as many lava tiles as possible, since lava tiles do not have random encounters, which are otherwise very, very frequent in all of these dungeons. By the way, if anyone wants to add this flashing effect to the NES Final Fantasy Randomizer, that would be an amazing contribution. But I can imagine that it'd be kind of tough. Ow. Architect. One of the rudest types of giants that we have seen in a while. Let's try the burgers. The 99 hat is running all of them off. Well, I don't know if you've ever seen a level 99 hat before, but it is way fancier than you could even imagine. I want to add to the randomizer, flashing the character when you touch lava tiles instead of flashing the background. It's a really good effect in this version of the game that makes it obvious that you're on lava without being really obnoxious at times. Carry here. This should go pretty easily. Got our bit on, so fire's not doing much damage to us. Gotta have some ruses on from the defense sword, which will make the melee attack not do much damage to us. We can heal, something the Black Belt Fighter could not do. That gives us plenty of time to put buffs up and pretty much just be fine. I do not have this power glove yet, do I? Well, do this. Bring up power glove. It's gonna be from the bottom of Sea Shrine, not from the top. Still pretty good damage. That was a decent second fiend. Very completely crushed. Obviously, 4 bonus dungeon opens up. But I had a little bit of time left over. We did 2 of the Final Fantasy 4 fiends as an extra post-game celebration. Final Fantasy 3, 4, and 5 were all done with the Black Belt. That one had a fair bit of time. I guess that Black Belt would need 2 days. Black Belt ended up being like a little bit over 7 hours. Like right around now, Black Belt would be coming up to Chaos. For Red Mage, considering we still have to do the rest of the fiends, that's going to be pretty fast, but it is some time spent. Then we're going to be doing 15 puzzles for a bit. Then we're doing Temple of Fiends. I think we should still be on a pretty good pace to be under 10 hours. that means we probably can squeeze in at least some bonus dungeon for our Red Mage as well. Here we go. And down we go. It may not be 2,000 years back in time, but it does bring us back to the sea shrine here. And this time, we're going to get really, really noodly. And we're going to get the power glove. Let's I think definitely for some of the remaining character classes, I'm going to probably have to get the Power Glove before even doing carry. Given that you don't really have a lot of offensive options with White Mage, Black Mage, or Thief for doing damage, Power Glove is going to be absolutely essential for anything that has even the slightest bit of difficulty. Look at this. Once you get the Power Glove, you can scale very, very rapidly and make up a large difference in all of your base stats. Assuming you can survive long enough to use it. And up to the top, now down to the bottom. They kept the directions of the staircases from the NES version, even though that was more or less a workaround for the NES having a limited number of maps that it can load. And so they need to stick some of the floors on the same piece of map. Just make them kind of small and space them out so you can't see them through the walls. Well, that's a trick that they use in Gurgu Volcano, Sea Shrine, a couple places to simplify the way that the game is storing all the dungeon map locations. Well, in GBA, I imagine that that wasn't really a limitation, and they could have reflipped the staircases around so that when you're going down to the bottom, it was all downs instead of some ups, some downs, and some water crystals. What do we do with Lit 2? This is not their weakness, but it's still pretty good. With Ice 2 from that black shit, we should be doing probably 450 on those. Here's our giant gloves. That's our number one most used item, so let's put that up in slot number 2. Zeus gauntlets and mage staff pretty up there. I'm gonna actually put the Thor hammer in. We've had the gauntlets for a while. They have done a good job, but I think that they're getting a little bit tired. That. Alright, so there's our pile of stuff that can go. Everything down here is unnecessary. Address. I think many people click on virtual highlight, and then they realize that it's actually a movie and not just a still image, which makes them very confused. Around we go. We are headed to the lair of the Kraken. And hopefully at least one of us is going to survive this fight. Everyone made a randomizer of the GBA version. Yes, it is not nearly as polished as the NES randomizer. That is the definitive Final Fantasy 1 randomizer. But there is a Final Fantasy 1 GBA version randomizer that mostly functions. Dan and Jim traded places. I mean, that would be probably catastrophic to everyone, especially to Dan and Jim. Virtual Highlight getting an extreme randomizer. There is no way that you can make Virtual Highlight more extreme. It is simply not possible. No way that Kraken. Surviving the onslaught of our Red Mage here. With 4 power gloves. Fighter would probably be doing this with like 2 power gloves. Black Belt would just use their fist. I get Fiend number 3 taken down. I don't know why all these other Red Mages are following Dan around. Getting kind of creepy. Alright, there's our Sea Shrine themed dungeon open up. Means that we are on to our trip to space. Sky Castle is going to be 2 items picked up. We need the black shirt. We need the pro cape. 1 more Fiend taken down. Now, at that point, then it'll be time for preparing for the past. Which I'm going to guess is somewhere in the neighborhood of like 45 to 60 minutes, depending on how our luck goes on the 15 puzzle. Going to try and get a bunch of elixirs farmed out. Ideally, we will not need them, but just in case, we'll have them at the ready. Robots, don't you beep at me. I've had enough beeping and enough blueness. All that dragon, kind of satisfying. 1 in 64 blue dragon appearance. That's a little bit deceptive because if you're playing the NES version, the 1 in 64s are not evenly distributed in the encounter table. The first 128 values have no 1 in 64s. So if you are powering the game on and doing less than 128 battles before putting it away, you will never see the rare encounters. Whereas the second half, it's 1 in 32 for the remaining 128 fights. So after a while, you start seeing a much, much higher encounter rate than you'd expect, after seeing basically none of them. You play super battery, but every 60th frame is from virtual highlight. I mean, what do you do after you run out of those first couple of minutes of virtual highlight? Seems like that would really mess that thing up. Blue Dragon done. Sorry, Pro Cape is going to be on floor 3. We'll get that on the right-hand side. You can also get a Pro Cape at the very end of the game when you're going down to carry. Not too far off of your walking path, but I figured I might as well grab it here while we're in space. I guess I could have also gotten the Bane Sword, but Dan doesn't need such cheap tricks to beat his foes. Also, in this version of the game, they have gotten rid of the 3 in 2d6 chance of just anything goes. You no longer have the possibility of instant killing chaos with Bane Sword, so it's a lot less exciting. That's the black shirt. That's the black shirt. We can probably get the black shirt in no more than 2 tries. There we go. Second try. Up here. Let's see what this has changed. So I'm going to actually get rid of all these spells I don't need anymore from the Red Mage. So that's going to be Fire 2, Lit 2, and Ice 2 out here. Fire 3 could still get used. Cure 3 I think is pretty good. Fast is pretty good. I might never do Cure 1 and Cure 2, but they're not really hurting anything. This is a very, very sparse list, but it is at least all decently useful stuff the Red Mage can do. Let's see, Black Suit's going to replace that spot. Going over here. Grab our wonderful and amazing Pro Cape. Rockets. I needed experience, which we definitely did not need experience at level 99. That was pretty good. That right there, that is our very last defensive pickup. 51 defense is what we got for our Red Mage. That's pretty substantial. I think you're getting a decent-sized bonus from the Vitality score on top of your normal armor loadout, which is why it's a fair bit better than what you have on the NAS version. Fighter's going to be even better than that. Fighter and Black Belt both have some pretty big Vitality scores, so they have really nice bonuses on top of being able to use the same or better gear than the Red Mage for the most part. But this is not bad. I just kind of wonder, would I ever benefit on White Mage, Black Mage Thief from manipulating Vitality points? It's not as impressive early game as getting the raw HP, or the starting levels, those are going to be like 20 plus gains. And Vitality is going to be a very, very slow process. But it might mean that you could stop your big HP gains a little bit sooner, so you have more Vitality points to kind of coast along to 99. And it'll give me more defense to work with, which is generally not bad. If you want me to murder you, I will murder you. I thought we could have made this easier for everyone here. Except for T-Mat. It's going to be not very easy for T-Mat. As we get to our fourth and final fiend here taken down. Include our fiend rush in the present. Does seem like the Red Mage takes pretty low amounts of magic damage, which is great. Don't actually need the temper spell anymore now that we got the Power Glove. What I can get rid of. Three Power Glove. Do one more Power Glove. That should be very decent for our damage output. We put a heal in before we start swinging, and I think Tiamat's going to go down very, very quickly. There's one. There's two. Fiends are finished off. We move on to the 15 puzzle after this. We go at second place prize pool. Starts at 60 seconds. In theory, it can go all the way down to 30 seconds in like a half-second increment. It's kind of tough to squeeze them in that tight. And it's also a really massive pain because you have to go back to the team puzzle every single time if you want it to reset out for a bad prize. So I feel like what we do is just take whatever results that we get, counting down from 60 to 30. I could maybe see if I want to grab some Mega Elixirs after that, but if we have enough Elixirs from the second place prize pool, I will feel perfectly content with not grabbing any more Mega Elixirs, because those are functionally the same thing. It is time to get back to our boat. Alright, so in case I mess up my 15 puzzle leaderboard. Alright, here we go. Good news is we have plenty of time going through here. We're just going to be delaying a bit until we have roughly the time number that we need for the next piece of it. And our first one's going to be going up to 60 seconds, so we got to wait for a long time for those. As it goes in, we get a little bit faster going through these. And that way we can have as many squeezes as possible. Elixir's only in the second place prize pool, so we need to finish on leaderboard second place, which the default numbers are 30 and 60 for first place and second place. Let's see what we can get here. 59 is our target. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Remedy and potion, not what we need. And the Red Mage equip the Lightbringer from the bonus dungeons. I think the Red Mage can equip the Lightbringer. Now, can we get the Lightbringer would be a different question, because if you can beat those bonus bosses, you can probably beat Chaos pretty easily. That's one of the big holdups of the really good items. The early bonus dungeons have pretty bad items. They're not going to make any appreciable increase in your power at this point. And the ones that would be really good are kind of, unfortunately, too far in. There's emergency exit, which, if we want to get some of those bonus touches, that's nice to have since we do not have a travel spell, since we do not class change. This one's gonna be 58. So far, no elixirs. One, two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Elixir. All right, got our high 57 in there. Got our first elixir picked up. This will be 56. What is this? This is the 15 puzzle, which in the original version gave you 100 gold for finishing it, and has been substantially buffed in the remix. For places, you get 10,000 gold for a first place time, which is pretty easy to just bang out first places one after another in those, because they have a basically empty leaderboard at the start. This version, it has some predefined ones for the first couple of entries, so you can't as easily get a whole bunch of first places. But there is a different prize pool between whether you get first, second, or third place. And I am currently trying to get second place prizes, which include such valuable items as an elixir. But a try. There's some strategies I'm using that makes it pretty consistent for finishing these. It's still tough to get really fast times, like under 20 seconds is like very, very, very hard. You gotta have like perfect layouts. But you should be able to get pretty easily like sub 1 minute times pretty fast. If I time another emergency exit, so we got way too many of those. So far, only 1 elixir. Means that we're just gonna have to keep trying harder. I gotta make sure that I don't accidentally finish it too fast. Once you get down to the last pair of rows, some of the positions are ones where an unexpected click could complete the puzzle. I was like, okay, gotta be a little bit careful about those. We're at 54 for this one. 1, 2, 3, and 4. That one's another emergency exit. Well, where are the elixirs? Go with 53. This one can be decently good for speedruns for people trying to get those emergency exits. It's not even that common to see them. But when you get them, it saves like a couple minutes of walking between places like Earth Cave on the way out or Waterfall. They're considered very, very valuable. Hermes shoes would give you a haste belt. We needed that for the fighter and the black belt. But because Red Mage has the fast spell already in their kit, you don't need Hermes shoes for this character class. We're down to 52, I think, next. But if we just take the sub 30 times for Mega Elixirs. It can be kind of tough to get more once you have the first 2 or 3 out of there, though. I'm being patient with those. Okay, got Elixir number 2. That helps. There's a couple more. The 51. Hey, straight on Melmond, welcome in. Thank you much for the good wishes, and hopefully you enjoy the finale of our solo Red Mage challenge here. We're grabbing elixirs, and then we are going to be grabbing chaos. Probably also time for bonus dungeons after this one, based on our pace here so far. Remedy there, that does not help. Let's stick around here. 50 seconds left. What is the highlight for the holidays challenge? Well, we are challenging ourselves, Tipo 1, to survive virtual highlight this holiday season. Something that may or may not be 100% impossible. 49, 50, another remedy. I want to say remedies were from the eye as well, which is we got them in the other playthroughs. But maybe they were all from the 15 puzzle. Still had a lot of remedies on the other character classes. Right, 49. Three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 49. Emergency exit again. How many of these are we going to get? And how can we never get those speed points? That's the part that is probably going to irk a lot of people. Like nearly impossible. Right, 48? Am I waiting until 49 seconds? Because I have to get specifically second place on the leaderboard. And there's a time already at 30 seconds. So that's going to be my floor for it. Leaderboard starts at 60 seconds, so then I try to put in places as close as possible so we get as many of these tries in a row. And we want to get just a solid string of second place, and so on. But as we do, it becomes more difficult because you're working around your other times in order to be able to get the right prize set that you want. Let me skip that one. No. Yeah, because we wanted to have 47 there. I went too long for it. Oops. Try again. Go back in there. I was not paying attention to the time. It is also hard to focus after a while for it, because you just see the same puzzles over and over again. It's starting to become pretty numb. Okay, this one we're waiting for 46 on it. Another emergency exit. The really brutal one would be if you were trying to get every single one possible to be a good result, because then you're having to go back into the 15 puzzle every time that you don't get the result that you need. $45. Tick, tick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, another elixir. I think that's our third one. Got 5 mega elixirs. And I don't have like a specific target of what is a good number of recovery items to have. But we'll be able to get a few more as well from the Cardia Islands. I need to pick those up before we really commit to things. And then there's one in Temple of Fiends. I think there's 2. The one in Carry's Floor as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. Turbo Ether. Nope. Try again. Do a couple more of these. I feel like we're gonna get some pretty diminishing returns pretty soon at this point. What's next? 43? 0. 1, 2, 3. Another elixir. One more, I'm feeling good. So we don't miss any of the gaps here. We have very few left that are able to be put in. 1, 2. Hermes shoes. $41. I'll take mega elixirs. The problem is once you commit to a mega elixir, that's the only strategy you can do. Regular elixirs are basically gone at that point. Another emergency exit. It's going to be certainly some emergency if we have to get out of there. We will be able to do it. Apex Corbett, thank you much for the raid there. And Arc the Pie King, welcome in. Hope you're having a good time tonight. We are doing a solo Red Mage here. And yeah, we are getting pretty close to the end of the game. We're also getting so many emergency exits. Where are these elixirs? Hopefully our Red Mage is strong enough that we just simply do not need that many. I think we should be in pretty good shape. $29? Oh, nice. That you're a fan of the Red Mage. The Red Mage does have a very stylish hat, and people are a big fan of that in general. Alright. Elixirs in. That should be 5 elixirs. And find the big stack of things. Yeah, 5 elixirs. We got 5 mega elixirs from the zombies earlier. We're going to get an X potion and an elixir from Cardia. We should get a mega elixir and an elixir from Temple of Fiends. At that point, we've got 14 full recovers for HP. Most of them are also going to be full recovers for MP. I feel like that's got to be enough. I think that's no one there. I'll say that the potion's over on this side. Or is this the Turbo Ether? Somewhere down here there's something. Dry Ether? Golden, okay, so it's not this one. There's X potions in the big island at the start. I'm almost positive they're not in the same island. If it's here, then it'd be on the left-hand side, most likely. There we go. Alright, there's Cardia done. Let's get inventory cleaned out. Make things nice and tidy. I want to have fewer chances of accidentally clicking on things that I don't want. So we will get rid of white shirt, don't need that. No caps, or gloves, or dragon mails, wizard staff. I mean, confusion could be funny, but don't think it's ever going to be useful. Gold bracelets out of here. Zeus Gauntlet, we got the Thor hammer now, so we can get rid of those. Ice sword is gone. Our buckler isn't necessary. I guess we'll keep all of these emergency exits. We got 8 emergency exits working on our 15 puzzle, which is ridiculous. Turbo Ether, I suppose it doesn't hurt. It just doesn't really help in battle much. Dry Ether for full MP recovery probably doesn't help, but we'll have that in case we need it. These are all things that it might have a slight benefit, but very, very low value. Let's get these out of the way so that we're not accidentally using them when we don't mean to. All right, Ruse, Giant, Lit 2, Fire 2, Ice 2. We'll have Ethers up here. They're pretty popular. I guess Antidotes and High Potions could be up here. I guess in-battle ones may be better. Protect, Strength, and Speed are up here. A little bit of a buffer so that we have things that we don't want to normally touch down further. Antidotes, Remedies can be together. Elixirs and Mega Elixirs together. Hermes Shoes, probably not that critical to have, but we'll save on a couple of spell casts with those. Up there. I mean, Hermes Shoes is basically just turning into a little bit of MP. Means I should probably just ditch them. I'd really use the term with my MP to use that, so gone. All right. That looks like everything that a Red Mage might potentially need. It's 7 hours, 47 minutes. It looks like we are proceeding 2,000 years back in time. Let's hope it goes well. If it doesn't, I've got emergency exits. So it is okay to save inside Temple of Fiends. We can escape. So as I started, so 8 hours for Temple of Fiends is really good. Yeah, I did not expect it to be under 8 hours for Temple of Fiends. My initial guess was probably like around 12 hours. And then it started getting down to like, okay, maybe like 10 hours. And now it's looking like 8:15 is about when Chaos is going to go down. We have definitely moved very quickly. This is actually not that much slower than Solo Black Belt was, which is a big shock because Solo Red Mage had to do a lot of RNG manipulation, and Solo Black Belt did not. Solo Black Belt was more or less just pounding through those levels as quickly as we could. How little damage these ice storms are doing. But yeah, whatever. We're shrugging them off. Although it's a very slow round. That is kind of a problem. Yeah, Black Belt did a little bit of RNG manipulation for HP gains, but Red Mage did easily twice that, and then also the intelligence gains. Which means it was probably 3, maybe 4 times as many levels. And some of them went really fast. I think that's kind of a big factor, is that while there's occasionally a level that took 20 minutes, there was a lot of levels that took like 1 or 2 tries. And I feel like if you have the flexibility to kind of abandon things, like if you give it 20 tries, 30 tries, and it's not happening, rather than finding like more and more different permutations of the RNG table to explore, just giving up and moving on to the next one seems probably like the viable strategy. And if you've got multiple things that you need, like maybe you can take them out of order and not have to be as fussy with some of these, that would probably save a lot of time overall. Now, whether you can afford to do that for the other character classes is unknown. White Mage, Black Mage, Thief are going to be harder than the ones that we've done so far. How much harder? I don't know. But I am pretty certain that it will be hardly a challenge to beat this Phantom. Down he goes. You have to manipulate to get 999 MP? Not really. By manipulating my intelligence stat, that improves the amount of MP that I get on every single level up. So I was able to basically just take whatever, and it worked out for the total. HP gains, I could do that, but it would take a very long time to max out HP. And the problem is that you need a lot of HP for some of the early bosses. And so you're either getting level 99 at like Lich, which would be really, really painful, because those fights are worth very small amounts of experience, and it's a lengthier process compared to doing things like the eye grind. But manipulating out the HP felt like it was a faster process than just doing all the grinding up front. Again, maybe not true, but that's kind of like the feel that I got. If you don't have to manipulate the HP, the nice thing is that you can then use a little to manipulate a different stat that might be more important and enduring in the long run. So that'll be something to explore for probably at least White Mage and Thief, who already have okay HP gains. Black Mage probably needs HP manipulation just to get to 999. So I might not have a choice on that one. But I think going by this, no character class needs MP manipulation. The White Mage and Black Mage should have enough natural intelligence that they will hit 999 on their own. Red Mage hit it without focusing on MP gain, just the end score. And nobody else needs MP at all. That covers everybody. Hey, get melt. Yep, all we got really that's important is going to be Cure 3, Fast Temper. Probably I will have Protect still. I'm actually going to maybe think about even throwing even more spells away that I'm not going to use. But realistically, there's just like not a lot that the Red Mage can do with these spells. Because you don't class change, Lit 3 and Ice 3 are not available. Fire 2, Lit 2, Ice 2, once you've got the items are unnecessary, so you can discard them. And even beforehand, I wasn't really using them that much. There's only very brief stretches where you actually need your elemental damage spells at all. So some things are used for like one fight only, and at that point they're obsolete. Some things are slowly obsoleted, but it does no longer make sense to have them by the end of the game. And as a result, Red Mage is super lean here. This is a very, very limited list. I can get rid of Cure 1, Cure 2. Those are going to be unnecessary with Cure 3 being a reasonable price. Well, yeah, that's about it. If we class change, you get a couple more. Warp would make a lot of sense. You're probably getting Lit 3 and Ice 2 because those are better than what you can have in their respective items. But it's not like it makes a huge difference overall. See if we can kill Lich without Power Gloves. 5 rounds. Kind of expected to be nuke regardless. But somehow he's giving me nothing but melee attacks, and so maybe we could have had a nukeless Lich if I had used the Power Gloves here. Oh well. This is the least nuking Lich I've ever seen. Alright, there's got to be some kind of funky RNG thing going on with Lich. There he goes. Finally uses a spell. That took so long. And he was one hit away. When I get the Light Axe, the Light Axe is going to be strictly worse than the Mage Staff. Anything that is undead is also weak to fire. So there is no situation where the Mage Staff doesn't work on it. And while it looks like Light Axe has better base stats, like the harm spells in general seem like they would be stronger than their corresponding fire counterparts. The trick is that undead are able to be damaged by harm spells, but they're not weak to it. So they don't get the 50% bonus damage that you have with the fire spells. So the number looks bigger, but once you put the 50% on, the fire spells are just better. Means lose their elemental weaknesses in the responses. Yep, elemental weaknesses are gone. So Lich, initially weak to fire, Carry weak to status elements, Kraken to lightning, and Tiamat to poison. In the refights, they are all going to be neutral or strong elements. My dragon, I will murder you myself. In refight number 2. So kill Lich 2 with Quick. Well, I mean, you can kill anybody with instant death spells. That 3 and 2d6 chance means that there is nothing that is truly useless for instant death, although many things are not advisable. And it's pretty much the only way that a thief can kill certain things is with the Bane Sword. Because otherwise, it would be nearly impossible. Yeah, for Lich 2, it's neutral versus Earth, which is why Quake works a much higher percentage chance than 356. Also, for some reason, Lich just doesn't have particularly good magic defense. One of the few things that some of the Fiends have that makes him a lot easier. But like our mages. They are not very good at this. Water Thunder with the black shirt. You are going to be absolutely crushed by this. I was guessing 450. 400 is solid, but definitely a lot more questionable about whether or not that's actually going to one-shot him. Maybe that Black Mage is going to need the 60 intelligence stat to be on the even safer side. I think 60 should be fine for White Mage and Black Mage at a minimum. They might even go to 70 when it comes time to grind those out. Given that it has been generally not too bad doing level manipulation. Alright, am I getting the Masmune here? Yes, I am definitely getting the Masmune. The Masmune is going to be worth a couple of buffs at the start of a fight. You're not getting any more accuracy because you've already maxed it out. But for physical attack, I think right now we're at like 54 with the Sun Sword. And so Masmune is going to be a very chunky amount better than that. Nothing else. That Cure 3 just so dramatically improves the Red Mage's survivability. Black Belt kind of struggled against some of the very big bosses because even with the massive damage that you can do, you're only limited to those 999 hit points. And it can take a while to get your buffs in place. So I bet Red Mage could actually do surprisingly well in some of the bonus dungeon bosses. I might have to give him a try. Sunsword better than this person. The Sunsword is going to be better for your attack score. Only because you want the defense sword in your inventory to be clicking on a little bit faster for used in combat. And there's virtually no difference between Sunsword and defense sword for total stats. One's got a little bit better attack value, one's got a little bit better accuracy value, and at the end of the day, it kind of doesn't matter that much. There's the Iron Golem. You can melee it. 62? It's not outrageous. I bet the spells are going to be better, though. 1 in 64 Iron Golem to go along with our 1 in 64 Blue Dragon. No T-Rex, though. These are really, really fast. These things are also pretty fast, which is going to be annoying. I mean, even with the A fire up, I bet the Mage Staff is probably able to knock down the regular vampires pretty quickly. That might be easier than running. Good try. Mute! Never see that. That's why you should have the 8-mute spell. Well, you should never have the 8-mute spell. It is a terrible, terrible idea. Okay, evidently the third spell of the Wiz-Vamp is Ice 2. These are things that you just do not see on other versions. And of course they drop the Hermes shoes that we got rid of. Guessing that's a Wiz-Vamp. I'm pretty certain I've never seen a regular vampire drop. Yeah, for regular Red Mage, you cannot equip the defense sword. For Red Wizard, you could. There's a little post-class change. Fighter is the same way. Fighter can equip the Sun Sword, but not the defense sword. There's everyone. Can use the Masamune. Plus 24 attack. That's a pretty big gain. I think roughly that is 2 full power globes over the Sun Sword at the start of a fight. We'll speed those up quite a bit. We were doing like 4 power globes versus the other bosses and still taking multiple rounds. Tiamat should be a little bit faster. Just get out of here. We got one more Fiend refight left. So many unriddle orbs. They are very good experience if you did, but at level 99, experience not really all that important. Final Fiend refight begins. Got their physical defense up. Physical defense is what the Red Mage really struggles with the most, even with the best gear that we can get in the game. Still hit really hard by enemies. Spell damage, we kind of have under control pretty well. That is definitely good to see. Bastet Masbune, then we'll have the Sabering on top. Then we'll have the Murdering. Feels like we are very overpowered. But I will see how it feels versus Chaos. Definitely think that there was a lot of preparation done that probably could be skipped for Red Mage. Just in our final outcome, we were decently far ahead of pace in pretty much all the important stats that we needed. Over here. Let's start drinking. Now, assuming this goes well, and I have no reason to expect it will not, we will be doing some bonus dungeons after this. Yes, will not be the end of our Red Mage tonight. Assuming everything goes well, this will be the end of Chaos for tonight. Here we go. Whoever gets around a cure for that is 9999 recovery. It's not his full 20,000, but it's still a lot. So I'm going to start out with just working on physical defense for the most part. We don't have to do any HP or MP buffs. Wow, that's a lot of damage. Let's see if Cure 3 is enough to keep him alive here. We should be able to out-heal most of Chaos's moves. And I feel like once you have the physical damage contained, Chaos is going to get pretty simple to get locked down. So I imagine his best attack's going to be like maybe 250. Means we are right around that 1.5 heals per round mark. That's my very hard skills, which is probably best for us. So we get our evasion up, then you want him to go more on melee attacks than anything else. For mages, we don't care about slow because we have so many fast spells we can cast. Totally good. I think Red Mage might not need any of the big healing items, which is a shock. This is the power of having actual heals. And that gives me a lot of confidence for White Mage going really well. Black Mage, on the other hand, because you don't have any healing there, is still going to be a big damage race. I think Black Mage may struggle a bit. Thief definitely is going to have some problems. But White Mage is very, very strong looking here. There's Cure 4. Still hitting us on occasion. That might be critical hits going through. In case I can reduce that damage a bit with Protect. Because Case is so far into his spell list, I'm worried that he's going to get to fast. And at that point, because he can get a couple of criticals per round, it's a lot easier to just sneak in like a 500-600 damage hit. There's the best. All right, here's the big question. If we do bonus dungeons, do we go right for Final Fantasy V and try to fight Omega or Shinryu again, which is the hardest bonus dungeon boss, or do we warm up with a Final Fantasy 3 or 4 trip first? Because I'm starting to think that the Red Mage might have a chance on the Final Fantasy V bosses. I'll go ready to go. The extra in points giving me a bigger Cure 3 are pretty vital here. That's making it practical to just use Cure 3s instead of having to chug elixirs. So very, very noticeable bit there. Kind of the big surprise is just how much you're getting out of your magic defense, taking way less damage on these spell attacks than the fighter Black Bolt had. This is good news for White Mage and Black Mage. It is probably not good news for the Thief. So it seems like everything is not good news for the Thief. Now we're 3,000 a round, that's 7 rounds of kills. And take some time off for a Cure 3 at some point. Just be safe on our hit points. But as long as you get back around to Cure 4, and even if he did, that's just another 3 to 4 rounds of fighting. It looks like this is going down in our attack. Interesting. We're doing really good at the start. Now we're down to like 2,500. Like, all right. Maybe we got lucky. Maybe Dan's getting tired. There's Nuke. 228. Lich was doing, I think, 160 with the Nuke, so your magic defense must make a very, very big difference in this version to cutting down the Nuke damage. is a big victory. 8 hours, 17 minutes, and 7 seconds.